Everybody, Chris here. Are we seeing the beginning of the end of the bear market for Dogecoin and Bitcoin? We're going to talk about that in this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit that little notification bell too. You can be notified when new videos come out, as well as when I do live streams. And 6.96, Dogecoin is moving back up, trying to get back to the 7 cents, right? 7 cents is now the local resistance. We still have 7.1 cents at a larger scale. If Dogecoin does come over 7, comes back and retests as support, and then moves up to 7.1, that is what we would expect in a recovery. Does that become a relief rally with then a further pullback? We shall see. We'll be watching that next week. I think that's going to be what we're going to be looking at. Bitcoin just over 65,000. Again, Bitcoin has been seeing these lower highs. It looks like it's challenging the previous high here of 65,325 here that we saw at the end of July as Bitcoin moved out of a previous relief rally. So we saw lower highs and lower lows, and we're expecting that to continue, but now there seems to be a turnaround in the trend on Bitcoin. And then just one other piece of note here is Bonk, which I posted on X Twitter this morning. Bonk had a huge pullback, 10% pullback here, as Upbit, the South Korean exchange, is going to delist Bonk. They're talking about security concerns with the token, etc. So, yeah, we were always kind of questionable about Bonk anyway. It was the big darling of 2023, of course, when it was embedded into a Solana phone, and there was a big airdrops happening, which fueled the run on Bonk last cycle. This cycle, I'm staying away from Bonk. Now, that doesn't mean Bonk doesn't recover from 0.00025, right? And it goes up to 5.0 and it doubles in price. That can still happen because it's a meme token and anything can happen. But yeah, that's not good. If Upbit isn't going to list this anymore, I guess you have till like the first week of September. If you're in South Korea, you're on Upbit, and you'll need to sell your Bonk or move your Bonk off that exchange. So we'll keep an eye on this. Overall, though, what's going on in the markets right now is of some concern. Here's Ted basically saying, look, in the last 2 months, Saylor sold Bitcoin. So we had strategy selling a lot of Bitcoin. We had the cold card wallets drained. The US-Iran war, on again, off again, a lot of uncertainty there, and the markets usually don't like uncertainty. Yen intervention happened, so the United States trying to help Japan, but the yen carry trade seems to be dying down, and that was a lot of movement of money that was happening before that isn't so much anymore, which would be a negative thing. And clarity, yes, the Clarity Act is delayed, but still Bitcoin went sideways and has been holding above 60K. Now, as I've said already, I think the bottom's already in for Bitcoin, which we had back here at 57,495. Yes, and that's what I called as the bottom. That doesn't mean Bitcoin doesn't go back and retest 60K. That can still happen. But this is starting to form a very strong bottom. Now, we saw in 2022, there was one more leg down that happened with Bitcoin in November when FTX went bankrupt, and there was the crash there. That final capitulation that happened, which Ben Cowan has been alluding to when he shows all of his charts of what could happen going forward. This cycle, we could still see something like that, but this is starting to look somewhat bottomish here as we are going through August here of 2026 of the bear market, end of the summer of a election. The United States midterm elections coincides with these bear market 4-year cycles. So that's what we have. That's what we're seeing going on. But we do have this week between Bitcoin and ETH, we have money coming back in on inflows. That's right. We have inflows into the ETFs this week, and even Dogecoin. Yes, there was an inflow on Dogecoin as well, ETF that we saw. So the ETF buyers are coming back after a month and a half of pretty much just red selling. They're buying now. So we've got that going on. We got gold and silver spiking again. Now still they're down from the highs that we had months ago, but they are recovering back up. And you would expect to see this if there was more of a war going on and there was more uncertainty in the markets. S&P 500 just hit an all-time high again, or Dow Jones hit an all-time high again. And it's just like, I mean, we can look at those charts and we can say, look, this is what's happening in stocks. Is we just hit this all-time high here on Wednesday, the new all-time high for the S&P 500. So what makes the S&P 500 from July 30th up until August 5th go on this big run? Again, it's a lot of it is on the backs of like SanDisk and Micron and Marvel and these big chip companies and memory storage companies. The tech run has been fueling this, but that's S&P 500. We look at the Dow Jones and we're like, the Dow Jones hit a new all-time high too here on Wednesday before a little pullback. The NASDAQ did not hit an all-time high. It did make a big recovery though, but NASDAQ got brutally killed here on the pullback that we had. But even Microsoft has gone on a big recovery, and we see other tech stocks as well. So we'll be watching that as well as we navigate here an August comeback, and we'll see how Dogecoin also reacts as we move forward. And was this, again, the question, was this the bottom for Dogecoin at 6767 that we had here on the 1st of August? Again, just a point of reference that we will continue to watch right there. So gold and silver up. What's going on with Bitcoin? So is the Bitcoin bottom in? Merlin Trader says it's already in. Q3 keeps telling the story. 2023 price chopped above one horizontal level all summer. It tested it 3 times and it never lost it. And then Q4 went vertical. 2024, same structure, same 3 tests, same results. So is 2026 going to follow 23 and 24? So they leave out 25 because 25 didn't act the same way at all. And 2022 was actually the previous bear market. So comparing this to 23 and 24, a little sketchy there, a little sketchy, but certainly the structure is there for that kind of move if it's going to repeat how things have happened in some years in the past. Of course, not all years. So we still have that. And Ted Pillows, again, back to him, it's like BTC hovering around 65. A strong close above 65 is needed for a pump up to 68, but there's still uncertainty there. And is Bitcoin going to find some way to retrace back to 63? And is there another capitulation down to 60 or not to come? So these are the things we're going to be watching going forward. Well, so what about Doge? Well, Doge is literally at 0. Now, not the price at 0, but there is a bottoming that appears to be happening with Dogecoin as well. That's right, with Dogecoin as well. And we can compare that also to what XRP is doing. The bears are almost giving up because it looks like that XRP is bottoming as well. So Doge only slightly above its recent local lows, trading at 6.9 on the daily chart. More significantly, Doge keeps printing a string of lower highs, lower lows, demonstrating sellers are still in control. Since June, every attempt at a recovery has been sold into, making it impossible for Doge to build a long-lasting bullish structure. And this is what we typically see in summers. This is exactly what I expected to happen in the summer. I didn't know whether June would be the low, though, because that happened in 2022. So I bought some in June. But then July was even lower, and I bought even more in July. And then August, so far August 1st, new low. So we're watching that. Now, every significant moving average, 20-day, 50-day, 100-day, 200-day, Doge is below all of these averages. So these are the targets we're going to look at when the buyers come back. Yes, when the buyers come back, we're going to be looking at these moving averages and seeing whether Doge can re-hit these moving averages, and we can start to see this curl around, hit a bottom, and move up. And along the way, we'll have a golden cross, and all of those things will be happening. So I'm expecting that more in the fall when we start working on that. But at this point in August, any upward movement will probably be seen as a relief rally rather than the start of a new trend until resistance zones begin to close. So we need to have the confirmation that we're hitting those moving averages before we know that the bear market is over. But XRP is doing the same thing. We have XRP below all of its moving averages too. So if you're just saying, well, it's just Dogecoin and Dogecoin, I'm like XRP. We can look at any number of different cryptos and see the same kind of pattern for alts. Now, this is not Bitcoin and it's not ETH, because ETH has already shown a strong recovery, but pretty much most of the rest of the alt market is still down. We had a little movement in Cardano, but Cardano seems to be falling back again because it doesn't have quite the momentum to go on a bigger run. So we'll be watching that as we go forward. So is the Dogecoin bottoming? Is it bottoming? You know, we've got different accounts calling for Dogecoin and the long-term setup. So we zoom out and we look at the big picture of Doge. We've seen what Doge has done in the past. One day, Crypto Patel says Doge could be trading above $2. The same people ignoring it today will call it obvious in hindsight. That's right, obvious in hindsight. And that's the thing about Doge, and that's what I keep saying with Dogecoin. It's like Doge can go on runs. We don't know when they will happen. Now, $2, I mean, let's get back to hitting our resistance lines, the long-term resistance lines that I cover during our live streams mostly. So 35 cents is going to be a big one that we've had all the way back from the fall of 2021. Is going to be a major point. And we'll talk about what happens on the bullish side into the fall. And I'll start doing all my projections. Right now, though, we're trying to figure out, is this the bottom, bottoming in? Is this the bear market end? That's what I'm concentrating on now, because I'm still accumulating and I still want to get the best prices of what I buy. So we continue. So here we have increase in active addresses, more wallets interacting with the Dogecoin network. And we've got the US Doge Spot ETF, another inflow of $82,000. So ETFs, again, we're going to see once the whole market turns around and Dogecoin starts going up, FOMO starts clicking in with Dogecoin, we're going to see these ETFs have a lot of inflows. It's just not going to happen in the bear market. It's just not for Doge. So we'll be watching Doge, and also Doge is touching its most oversold levels ever, which could be a potential for a long-term bottom, which I called out on my X Twitter account. I've got to go down a little bit to get to that chart here because I've been posting a lot of things. So you got to follow me. I'm at ChrisPax over here on X Twitter. But here was my RSI post here, where RSI on the monthly is lower than it was back in 2022. So this is completely oversold on a monthly basis. And so I would expect to see this start to round back up and maybe go on a little run like we'd had back in 2022. We could see that, but more like 2023, where it was a clear rounding and recovery through the fall and into early 2024. So this kind of move is what we could see coming for the next 6 months. Again, we'll talk more about that in the fall. Right now, though, is the bottoming out, the RSI bottoming out, looking at all of that. So right now, 6.95, 6.96 cents for Dogecoin. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think the bottom is in? Do you think we've already hit the low for Doge at 0.06767? Again, just a number. Or do you think we're going lower? Let me know in the comments. Give the video a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate the support. We'll see you next time.